Ladies and gentlemen, this is Go6. Welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be talking about the TR-7 assault rifle, which is arguably the most unique outlier AR in Battlefield 6. You've probably seen, listened to, or watched other people's reviews on this weapon, but what do you make of it? Do you have a clear idea of what good a loadout looks like, and when should you use this gun? How effective is it really? And is it even worth using in Battlefield 6? In this video, I'm going to show you a few gameplay clips, go over some key points, talk about what's good and what's bad about this weapon, and then share a few recommended loadouts that I've found to be useful and pretty strong. Without further ado, let's get started. So let's start with the most important part of this weapon, and that's the time to kill and the shots to kill, because this is where the TR-7 really stands out. Up close, the TR-7 is extremely lethal. You're looking at a 3 body shot kill up to about 20 meters, which is already very strong for an AR. In fact, within 10 meters, this gun is capable of 1 burst kill, which is honestly insane. As you move further out, the gun stays competitive. From 20 meters all the way up to around like 80 meters, it becomes a 4 body shot kill, and in terms of burst damage, it's still a 2 burst kill up to about like 80 meters, which is something you don't really see with the most of the assault rifles. And this is exactly why the TR-7 has the highest TTK potential in the game. If your shots are on target, enemies go down incredibly fast, sometimes before they even have the time to react. But this damage doesn't come for free, and that's where the gun's behavior starts to matter. Once you pass about like 40 meters, you really have no choice but to burst fire, in my opinion. Trying to full auto it at that range is just not realistic, and that's mainly due to the recoil, which we will talk about in a little bit. So if we go for like a quick review, I want to let you guys know that this assault rifle is basically a double-edged weapon. And the reason I say that is because if you don't really know how to play it, or you don't have a good loadout for it, you're probably going to end up with a lot of D's instead of the K's. You know what I mean? You're going to find yourself hitting that revive or give up screen multiple times throughout the match. That can cause a lot of frustration and disappointment, of course. I mean, to a point like where probably you're going to be like jump out of the game and say, you know what, I'm done with this, I'm not touching this gun again. But on the other hand, if you do know how to use it and you do have a good loadout on it, you're actually going to enjoy it a lot. And I mean a lot, because if you shoot right with this gun, you're going to absolutely obliterate players in front of you. The reason for that is simple. This gun has the highest TTK in the entire game. Up to 20 meters, it's a 3-shot kill. Like we said, regardless of whether it's a body shot or headshot, 3 bullets will drop an enemy, and those 3 shots are basically equivalent to a single burst at that range. But again, once you go beyond 20 meters, it becomes a 4-shot kill like we mentioned, or 2 bursts, and that stays consistent all the way out to about like 75 or 80. But of course, all of that power comes at a cost, and the cost is recoil. The TR-7 has the worst recoil among all assault rifles in the game, and the firing behavior is just unforgiving, like you say. There's definitely no way around that, but however, there are multiple loadouts out there suggested by a lot of people in the community, including mine, that can tame the recoil just a little bit, enough to make the gun enjoyable and effective in close to mid-range fights. But it doesn't matter what loadout you run, no matter what you see being recommended, you're never going to control the recoil of this gun the same way you can with weapons like the Cord NVO or the M433. Now, how to play the TR-7? And as I mentioned earlier, the TR-7 is an optimal weapon for a close to mid-range combat, but honestly, it leans much more toward like a close range if you really want to take advantage of that crazy TTK and shots to kill. Ideally, enemies needs to be within like about 20 meters of you, and if you're like playing on a map with a lot of close quarters areas, the TR-7 can be dominating weapon. Of course, this still depends on your skill level, but in general, if you ever feel like you're losing close range firefights, I highly recommend trying the TR-7. You would be surprised how much your KD can go up. Now, if you're playing on a bigger map, you're going to have to close the distance to make this weapon work. Ideally, you want engagements in the 20 to 30 meters range. You can push it further sometimes, even like to up to 50 meters, but realistically, anything beyond 35 to 40 meters should be treated as mid-range. And for mid-range fights, I found the best way to take advantage of the TR-7 is to burst fire, or even like tap fire, and of course depending on the situation. But based on the shooting range testing, you need 2 bursts to drop an enemy player, and that applies to targets from about 21 meters all the way up to 75, and sometimes even 80 meters. So 2 bursts and they're done. That's how crazy the TR-7 is. And if you use this loadout that I'm going to show you, you might be surprised how much you actually like the TR-7. But again, at the end of the day, it all depends on how skilled you are with it. So if this gun is so strong, why don't a lot of people use it? Well, the answer is recoil. The TR-7, like I mentioned, has the worst recoil in the entire AR category, and it also has the worst bloom. Using this weapon every day can honestly get tiring for some players, and that's why a lot of people really hate the TR-7. But that said, the recoil is somewhat predictable. Most of the time, the gun kicks or deviates toward the upper left side. Because of that, pulling your controller stick toward the 4 or 5 o'clock direction is recommended, and that would, kind of help with that recoil. And it's the best way to kind of secure consistent and accurate shots with this weapon, to be honest with you. So bottom line, if you can handle the recoil, the TR-7 is a beast. Alright, so now let's talk about the loadout. This is the balanced loadout, in my opinion, that works almost everywhere and in all kinds of encounters. The 3 main components are the muzzle, the barrel, and the grip. And the rest is optional, to be honest with you. But for the optic, I'm using the Miniflex. For ammo, I'm sticking with the FMJ. And for the magazine, I keep the default mag because of the 3-shot kill. You really don't need that extra bullets. So for the muzzle, I would use either the standard suppressor or the long suppressor. Both keep you off the minimap and also help maintain some recoil consistency at mid-range. And for the barrel, I run the extended barrel. This increases the bullet velocity from 648 to 810, which is honestly pretty important. And it also helps with recoil recovery at a distance. And moving to the grip, I would go with the stippled stubby. It offers really good recoil and bloom control with a slight ADS delay, but that's okay. It's an expected trade-off, completely fine in my opinion. And the way to help with this decreased ADS from this grip is to put a mag catch on it. So overall, the TR-7 is not an easy rifle to use, but if you're willing to put in the time and actually learn how to control it, the reward is absolutely there. This is a true high-risk, high-reward weapon, and if you know how to use it, it can be one of the most deadliest ARs in Battlefield 6. So if you've tried TR-7 before and you didn't like it, I'd honestly encourage you to give it another shot with this loadout that I have for you. And if you're already using it, let me know what loadout you're running and how it's been working out for you. And if this video helped you out, make sure you drop a like to support the channel, subscribe for more Battlefield 6 guides, loadouts, and updates, and leave a comment with your thoughts on the TR-7. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.